Hey guys, this is AJYT Abbott, and welcome back to another movie review. This is going to be my review of Jumanji: The Next Level, the newest Jumanji film. If you have not seen Jumanji: The Next Level, which most of you might not have, I've got to see it early, this review will contain spoilers. Alright, the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about the good is the cast is really good. It's pretty much the same as the first, just with some new add-ons. Of course, Danny DeVito is in it just for a short portion, and so is Danny Glover, and Aquafina's in this. Nick Jonas is back. Um, of course, as well as our main cast: Karen Gillan, The Rock, um, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black, and they are all super hilarious. Probably my favorite out of this film and the last film is Karen Gillan's character. Because I don't know, I love Karen Gillan in general. She's a fantastic actress, and she's just hilarious, and she just absolutely kicks butt in both of these movies. It's very, heartwarming. There's a sort of death, not really a death. Basically, Milo Walker, Danny Glover, he reveals to Danny DeVito's character, who plays, well, Danny DeVito, that's The Rock. Basically, The Rock and Kevin Hart talk, and Danny Glover, who's inside Kevin Hart, tells Danny DeVito, who's inside The Rock, that, he's sick and he's dying, and then, it comes back at the end of the film where he actually wants to stay in the game as a flying Pegasus horse thing, so he can, protect the place and he won't, die. So he's gonna be stuck in there, but he says he wants to be. So that was a good ending for his character. Um, Bethany, the teenage girl from the last one that was Jack Black, she becomes a horse in this film and it's great, but then by the end, everyone is in their normal bodies. Spencer is in The Rock's body, and, Martha stays in Karen Gillan's body the whole movie. Fridge is in Kevin Hart's body, and then, of course, Bethany's in Jack Black's body. But at the end, Danny DeVito gets inside of Aquafina's body, and he's like, Jumanji? Because it's different in this one where, they have to hold the stone up to the sun and then shout Jumanji, which I thought was cool. But yeah, really great message to it. It's got just super enjoyable action. The sequence when they're on the bridge and the monkeys are coming, whew, super intense, because they all have one life. They only have one life at that point, and they're just like super wary of what they do. And also the final act, so they just made that even more, intense with them, thinking of the possibility that they honestly really could die. So I thought that was just super enjoyable, and really, The Rock and Kevin Hart killed it with their old man impression, because The Rock has to have Danny DeVito's accent, and Kevin Hart has to, sound like Danny Glover's character. And it was just very hilarious, and they pulled it off extremely well in this movie. The bad is that this movie is just a straight copy of the original. The same lesson is learned in the last one. The kids, they Ghostbusters 2 this movie. And if you watch like Nostalgia Critic, you've heard that term before, which means they've taken the couple that was in the last film and they've split them up. Spencer and Martha, who were inside The Rock and Karen Gillan's bodies in the last film, got together at the end of it. And then we pick up in this film and they're totally split apart. Not together anymore. And they get together by the end of the film, and then we learn the same lesson, the value of friendship and how they should all stick together. And it's the same message as the first film. So I was just like, you guys really need to pick a different message. And that was just one of the really big bugging things for me, because throughout the whole movie I was just saying, this is exactly like the original. I mean, exactly like it. The only difference between this film and the original is that they actually do a little bit of a twist to this one where they switch bodies. And then in this one, they're, more acclimated to the game. The Rock, Karen Gillan, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black's characters are all acclimated to the game, whereas in the first one they were, confused. That's the only differences. Everything else is the same. Also, the villain sucked. While in the first Jumanji, the villain was well developed, and while he wasn't, a big time villain, I would say, for a blockbuster film, he was intense, and you understood his motives and why he was doing what he was doing. In this film, it's just really confusing because it seems like they barely mention the villain. It's like one or two mentions of him in like the beginning of the film where they actually get into the game, and then it's just, let's stop him from there, pretty much. There wasn't enough meat and potatoes to that villain for me to get invested in him. And while I still want them to succeed and win and beat this villain, I just didn't find any investment in him. I wasn't interested in what he was doing, and I just felt he was a very bland and dry villain overall. The villain from the first film was way better. Overall, Welcome to the Jungle, which was the first film, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle is way better than this one. While I don't think this one is bad, it just has some major issues in terms of continuity, where it just doesn't drive home that this villain is out to kill our characters. I mean, you can tell he is, but he just wasn't intimidating, and the plot is, it's the same film all over again, and I feel like they could have done a little bit more with this sequel. And they set up a third film where instead of them coming to Jumanji, Jumanji comes to them, which I like. I am very excited for that. If they do a sequel to this, which I think they should, I am not saying that I hated this film. I just had problems with it. Overall, it is a fun watch. I would watch it again. If you were a hardcore fan of Jumanji like I am, I went to see it in theaters early showing, early screening. Go to see it, and if you like the Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle from 2017 or whatever, go see it because it is good. And it is worth your money. It is not a bad film. It just takes a lot from the first film, and the villain is pretty lackluster, but great comedy, great cast, just a really solid bunch of performances overall. So that was my review of Jumanji: The Next Level. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were on the film. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you hated it down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.